Hi, I'm Moritz from Black Forest Motion, and in this video I'm going to explain the recording settings for time-lapse in Pro mode. Setting and editing keyframes is the same whether you are within the video or time-lapse function. In the previous video I already showed you how to set keyframes and how to edit them. Each programmed move can be converted to a time-lapse with a single tap. All time values are then converted from seconds to frames. The set frame rate is used for the conversion. This can be changed in the recording settings if needed. The total number of frames as well as the recording time and video length are determined by the programmed keyframes. If you change one of these three parameters, all keyframes will be scaled linearly. The most important setting for a time-lapse is the interval between the captured frames. You can adjust settings for the interval under the recording settings. The total interval time is calculated from the sum of camera trigger, pause time, motor movement, and an optional excess time. The camera time determines how long the camera trigger should be activated. A short time of 0.1 to 0.3 seconds is enough to trigger each camera when the exposure time is set via the camera. The pause time is a waiting time before the motor movement starts. This time should be long enough for the camera to complete the exposure before the motors start moving. For example, if you expose for 4 seconds, the pause time should also be set to at least 4 seconds. If the camera is set to bulb mode, the camera time in the app corresponds to the actual exposure time. When using bulb mode, a short pause time is often sufficient. The motor time determines the duration of the motor movement within each interval. The minimum motor movement is 0.5 seconds. However, if a long distance has to be moved, the minimum motor time increases accordingly. Once you have set all the time parameters, you can set the main interval. As mentioned above, the smallest interval is the sum of the camera, pause, and motor time. If the excess time is 0, you are on the smallest possible interval. If you increase the interval time, the excess time increases. During the excess time, the system waits until the next interval starts. The excess time can also be used to achieve a pause between motor movement and camera triggering. This can be helpful to give the camera enough time to come to a complete stop after vibration. If you start the time-lapse, you can either start the movement at the current time marker position or from the beginning. During the recording, you can see the current progress via an info box and the time marker. In Pro mode, you can also record a time-lapse in Aux mode. Just tap on Aux or slave mode within the interval settings. The motion sequence is programmed as before. The only difference is that you can no longer set the interval directly. This is now defined via an external device. Such a device is, for example, the LR Pro Timer or the View. Both devices must be connected to the aux port. For this, a special aux cable is needed. Once all devices are connected, you can start the recording via the app. The Pine controller then waits with the movement of the motors until it receives a signal from the external intervalometer via the aux port. You can see the progress of the time-lapse via the app here as well. If you want to learn more details about how to use the LR Pro Timer with the Pine, we have a dedicated video in the time-lapse section on our website. With our Pro mode, simple to complex camera movements for time-lapse photography can be realized thanks to the flexible Bezier curves. In the next video, we will take a look at how you can use the multi-lapse feature to shoot multiple time-lapses simultaneously and efficiently.